Welcome to this predicted paper from onmaths. This paper represents the best guess for the upcoming exams. Please use this paper in addition to your other revision. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. Onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing. So we need to first of all understand what a cube number is. So a cube number is the answer to when you get three integers or whole numbers and we multiply them by themselves three times. So 1 times 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, 3 times 3 times 3 is 27, 4 times 4 times 4 is 64, and 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. So 1, 8, 27, 64, 125 are all cube numbers, and it goes on forever. And this question's asked us to find all the odd, or an odd, cube number that is smaller than 100. So it has to be odd, so that gets rid of the 8 and the 64. And it has to be smaller than 100, so that gets rid of the 125. So I can either write down 1 would be a fine answer, or 27. I'm going to go for 1. If there were 39 people on the bus and 4 people got off the bus, that would leave 35 people remaining on the bus. So the fraction of people staying on the bus is 35 out of the 39 people on the bus. So our answer is, as a fraction, 35 over 39. And we can't cancel that any further. So with this question, we need to first of all count how many sides this polygon has. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's 10 sides. And we just need to know that a 10-sided shape is a decagon. Now we are expected to know all of the names of shapes between 3 and 10 sides, so if you don't know them already, just sit down and learn them. For this question, it's really important that we understand what the words sum and product mean. Now sum just means add, and product just means times. So we're going to start by adding the 5 and the 4, so that will equal 9. And then what we're going to do is find the product of 9 and 7. So we're going to multiply them together. 9 times 7, which is 63. So our answer is 63. There are 10 squares in total, so each square is worth 1/10. And if we count all of the shaded squares, we notice that in total there are 7 shaded squares. So that's 7 lots of 1/10, or 7/10. So we're told the sequence starts at 20. So our first term will be 20. And we're told that the rule is add 5. So we're going to add 5 to that. And that'll be 25 for our second term. Add 5 again. And that'll be 30 for our third term. So 55% is the same as 55 over 100, and what I can do is I can divide top one of the fraction by 5, and so that is going to equal 11 over 20. Now in total there are 20 squares here because there's 5 across and 4 down. 5 times 4 is 20, and if there's 20 squares and we're looking to shade in 11/20ths, it's just going to be 11 squares. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. If we write in how many sides each shape has, triangle has 3, quadrilateral 4, pentagon 5, hexagon 6, you'll notice the number of vertices is twice the amount of each of them. So if a shape has 15 sides, we just times that by 2 and it will have 30 vertices. Looking at this line, what do you notice about all the coordinates? Any coordinate along this line the x coordinates are going to change, but the y coordinates will always be 3. So the equation of the line is y equals 3. So for this question we need to convert the percentage to a decimal. So to do that we get that 8.9% and we just divide by 100. And so that will give us 0.089. And so we get that 0.089. Of normally means times in maths, so we just go times that by 457, and that will give us 40.67. The lowest point on this graph is here, and that's at 0.6, and the highest point is here at 0.20. And we're looking for percentage change or percentage increase, and the formula is change over original times 100. So the change between the 6 and the 20 is 14. The original, the starting point, was the 6 and times by 100. And that gives us 233.333 blah 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 percent. And this 100 technically is 100% that we're timesing it by. So it says it wants it to the nearest percent, so that would be 233%. So to simplify 10 to 22 to 26, I'm going to have to find something that I can divide the 10, the 22 and the 26 by. The biggest number I can do that for is 2. So if you look, 10 can be divided by 5 but nothing else can, 22 can be divided by 11 but nothing else can, and 26 by 13 but nothing else can. The only thing we can divide all of them by is 2. So that will be 5 to 11 to 13. So the answer is 5 to 11 to 13. So you do need to know the parts of a circle. So the full distance around the circle is called the circumference. If you've got a little bit of it, it's an arc. If you've got a line across it, that would be a chord, and the part that's kind of trapped in there is called a segment. Then if you've got a line across the circle going through the centre, that's a diameter. If you've got a line just going to the centre, if I can draw it properly, then that's called a radius. If you've got a line that touches the circle just on one point, like that, that's a tangent. But in this case, we have a sector. So the pass mark for the test is here, and we can see that there are 2 students who passed the test. So it's 2 students out of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in total. And we want this as a percentage, so we're going to times it by 100%. So we do 2 over 7 times 100, and that gives us 28.571 blah blah blah. And it says it wants it to the nearest percent, so that will be 29%. Let's rewrite this expression, but with a time sign in, so v times w squared. Now w squared just means times by itself, so we can rewrite that as v times w times w. Okay, so we know v is minus 10, so minus 10. And we know w is minus 4, so it's times minus 4 times minus 4. Okay, so when you multiply, it doesn't matter which order we do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do these ones first, and I'm going to ignore that times minus 4 at the end. So minus 10 times minus 4, that's a minus times a minus, which is a positive, 10 times 4, which is 40, times minus 4. Now we're going to do 40 times minus 4, so it's a positive times a negative, so that's going to be a negative. And 40 times 4, well, 4 times 4 is 16, so 40 times 4 is 160. So it's going to be minus 160. So for this question, we need to understand that the units we currently have are in meters per second, and the units we want to get them to or convert them to are kilometers per hour.
Now to convert the meters part is quite easy, because all we need to do is divide by 1,000. And when you divide the top of a fraction by 1,000, all you do is you just divide the whole thing by 1,000. So we're just going to divide the whole thing by 1,000. So we've got 95, and we're going to divide the whole thing by 1,000, so we get 0.095, and that's going to be kilometers per second, because we haven't dealt with the seconds yet. So that's the easy part. The more difficult part is converting the seconds to hours. So to convert seconds to hours, we divide by 60 and then divide by 60. So we divide it by 360. Seems simple enough. But the seconds are at the bottom of a fraction, and when you divide the bottom of a fraction by something, you actually times the whole fraction by that thing. So we're going to times the whole fraction by 360. And so we do 0.095 times 360, and you get the answer of 342 kilometers per hour. So our answer is 342 kilometers per hour. So we're asked to reflect this shape along the line y equals x, and y equals x is a diagonal line where all the x values are equal to the y values. So at the bottom here we've got x is 10 and y is 10, so that coordinate would be 10, 10. And then obviously this coordinate 4, 4, etc. So we need to reflect it across this line. And so if I pick a point, I'm going to pick the top one. We can see it goes 4 diagonals to hit that line. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So it will go another 4 diagonals. So that will be one of the coordinates there. And I'm going to do the same with the bottom one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 diagonals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 diagonals. So it will be there. And then finally, I'm going to do this slightly harder one. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Kind of goes over the other one. Ends up here. So if we join these up, and we need to label it B. So we know that the mean is the sum of numbers over the amount. But in this question, we're actually given what the mean is. We're given that that is 29. We're also given the fact that there are 4 cards, so we're given the amount. So what we can do is just get our lines in and solve this. So what we're going to do is just times both sides by 4. So we're going to do 29 times 4, which is 116. And so we know that the sum of the numbers will be 116. So all we need to do is to find the 4th card, is get that 116 and just take away the numbers that we know. And when we do that, we get the answer 26. Now you can easily check this by adding up 37, 26, 27 and 26 again, and then dividing it by 4, and you will get 29. There are a number of different ways of working out this question. You can find out the amount of tissues per penny. You can work out the amount of, or the price of one tissue, or you can get all the amount of tissues into the same amount. I'm going to find out the price per one tissue, and we're going to start off with the 24. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert the money into pence, just to mean that we don't have as much decimal. And we're going to do 807. I'm going to divide by the 24 to find out the price of one tissue. So that is 33.625. And so I'm just going to round that to 33.63. I'm just going to round everything to 2 decimal places, which says in the question.
Next one, we're going to do the 20 soft tissues. So this time I'm going to do 683 divided by 20. When I put that into the calculator, you get 34.15, so that's already 2 decimal places. And then finally we're going to do the 15 soft tissues. So we're going to do the 623 divided by 15 to find the price per tissue. It should be 41.533 blah blah blah, and rounded would be 41.53. So if you buy 15 tissues, it will cost 41 pence. 20 tissues, it will be 34 pence per tissue, but 24 tissues will be 33.63. So that's by far the cheapest. The best value is the 24 tissues box. Now, there's such thing as buying in bulk. Generally, the more you buy of something, the cheaper it is. Don't rely on that. Both in the GCSE, both in the exam, and in real life. Sometimes in real life, if you buy more of an item, actually per tissue, sometimes it becomes more expensive, especially if there's a special offer on the smaller box. Here we're given angles on a parallel line, and the first thing we do is find out what letter they follow. And so I just connect the parallel lines with the angles, and it makes a little C. So if you look, it makes a little C. And C are interior angles. Now interior angles are a bit weird because they add up to 180. So to find x, what we need to do is take 172 away from 180, which will obviously be 8 degrees. And so it's going to be 8 degrees, and the reason is interior angles. Now some teachers call it co-interior, some teachers call it allied angles. Either one of those three is absolutely fine, you'll get full marks for. So with a stem leaf diagram, the numbers in the middle often represent tens. They could be units. So we look at the key first of all, and we see that 3 line 9 means 93. So the numbers in the middle are going to represent 10. So this is a 90. Now we're looking for English, so this will be 92. So our first number will be 92. Then this will be 10 tens and a 4. So it would be 104. 11 tens and 1. So 111, and then 11 tens and 2. So to find the median, we go cross out the biggest and smallest until we're left with 1 or 2 in the middle. Here we're left with 2. So what we're going to do is we're just going to add the 104 to the 111, and we're just going to divide that by 2. So when we do that, we get 107.5 or 0.5. So our answer is 107.5. So there's a formula for percentage increase or percentage change, and it is the change over the original amount times 100%. So to find out the change here, we're going to do the difference between 1421 and 1100. So we're going to do 1421 take away 1100, which is 321. Divide that by the original amount. So the original amount was the 1100, and then times by 100%. And that's going to be 29.18%. So 7 times 10 to the power 4 is going to be 7, and it's going to be 70,000. And 9 times 10 to the power of 7 will be 90 million. And so when you add them together, you get 9007000. Now if you have access to a calculator, if this is on the calculator paper, then you can just type it into your calculator. Some people think there's a quick way of doing this, like adding the 7 and the 9. There isn't. You've just got to work out what this number is, work out what this number is, and add them together. There's a lot going on with this question, so I'm going to start off just having a look at the total amount of money. So I'm going to do this in pence, so 2115 pence. And if each merit point is worth 3 pence, then we can work out the amount of merit points by doing 2,115 divided by 3. So that gives us 705. So there's 705 merit points. Next, have a look at the question here, this part here, where it says James has X merit points. Sarah has 4 times as many points as James, so she's going to have 4x. Robert has 69 fewer merit points than James, so he's going to have x minus 69. And we know that that equals 705 because we've just worked that out. And this feels like a solving coming on. So we've got x plus 4x plus x, which is 6x. Minus 69 equals 705. And we're going to add 69 to both sides. So we've got 6x equals 774. Then we're going to divide 6 both sides. And so we've got x equals 129. So x equals 129. That means James has 129. Sarah has 4 times more. So she will have 516. And Robert has 69 fewer, so we're going to take 69 away from that, and that will equal 60. So we're given 21 to 4 is the ratio. And we're just going to have our lines in, because what we need to do is make the left-hand side be 1. Okay? And to do that, for 21, I need to divide it by itself, divide it by 21, and we're going to do the same to the right-hand side. So 21 divided by 21 is 1. Perfect, that's what we wanted. 4 divided by 21 is 0.190 blah blah blah. It says it wants it to 2 decimal places, so it's going to be 1 to 0.19. So when you read this question, the question's basically asking you to find the bearing of O from B. So the lifeboat is at B, so I'm going to draw a north line here. And to find a bearing, you start from the north line and you keep going clockwise. So we're going to look for this angle here. Now, this angle, which is given to us in the question, and this angle here, which I'm just going to call x, are going to be equal. So x is going to equal 135 degrees. And the reason for that is we've basically got, and I'm just going to draw or extend the north line down, because we've basically got we have a set of parallel lines here, and we have a set of z angles, which we know is alternate angles. So the reason for that is it's alternate angles. And always show the reasons to the examiner. Okay, and so to find out what the bearing is, so the bearing of O from B, it's just going to be 360 take away 135, and the reason for that is angles on a point. We've run out of space. Okay, so we're going to do 360 take away 135, which is 225, and so our answer is 225. So we're going to write an expression for the amount of people on the first bus. So they've started with X passengers and they've gone to 11 bus stops with X passengers. So altogether that is 12X. So we're going to have the first bus. And so we've got 12X. And then on the last bus stop, 19 passengers get on. So plus 19. Now for the second bus, well, we start with X and a further 5X come on. There's 5 bus stops with X passengers, so that's 6X altogether. and then 79 get on. And it says the first bus finishes with less passengers than the first. So the first bus finishes with less, and the way we show that is with this inequality here. Now all we need to do is solve that inequality, and we've got x on both sides, so we look at the x's. We've got 12x and 6x, so we always take away the smaller amount, so we're going to take away the 6x both sides. And next thing we're going to do is take away the 19 from both sides. And so, meant to be 60. Got ahead of myself. And the last thing we do is divide by 6 both sides. And so we've got x is less than 10. Now, it says here, assuming no passengers got off either bus, what is the largest value for x? Now it is tempting to write down 10, but it says x has to be less than 10. So the biggest number we can get that is less than 10 is 9. So to find the area of a rectangle, we just multiply the width and the length. So that's what we're going to do here. But whenever you have an expression representing a length or a width or anything really, you just put brackets around it. So we go u minus 2 times u plus 9. Okay, and the way we do this is with our grid. And just going to draw out the grid. And so we've got u minus 2, and we're multiplying it by u plus 9. Don't want too many for some reason. And so we've got u times u, which is u squared, u times minus 2, which is minus 2u, 9 times u, which is 9u, and 9 times minus 2, which is minus 18. And what we're going to do is we're just normally going to be able to add these ones together. So our answer will be u squared, and then we're going to do 9u plus minus 2u. Well, that's just going to be 9u take away 2u, which is 7u. So plus 7u, and then minus 18 at the end. First thing to do with this question is realise what information we have from the question. So it says that the toy car accelerates at that amount. So acceleration is an a. So its a is going to be 7 meters per second squared. And it says for 14 seconds, so that's a time. So the time is 14 seconds. It seems like there's no more information, but there is, because u is the initial velocity, and it says from rest. So u is going to be 0. And it's asking us to find the displacement, so the s. And displacement is just a distance with a direction, so it's a vector distance. So we're going to have to look and see which of the formulae that we're given, so which of the 3 formulae we're going to use. So notice we don't have a v, so we're not using that top one, we're not using that bottom one, so we're going to be using that middle one. So we write the formula out, s equals ut plus half at squared. Now we're looking for s, so let's leave the s there. U is 0, so it's going to be 0 times 14 plus half times the a, which is 7, times the 14 squared. Put that into a calculator and you get 686. So the displacement is going to be 686 meters. The first thing we need to do is work out the area of the floor. And you'll notice that this is a trapezium. So with a trapezium, the formula is half a plus b times h. And a and b are the parallel sides. So these ones are the parallel sides. And the height is the one connecting the two bases, the two parallel sides. So we're going to start off by writing down the formula. So it'd be half a plus b h. So So half times 2.8 plus 1.2 times 11. And when we do that, we get 22. So the area of the floor is 22 meters squared. And it says here that the tiles are sold in packs which cover 3 meters squared. So if each pack covers 3 meters squared, we're going to do 22 divided by 3, which will be 7.33 packs that we need. Now obviously you can't get 0.3 of a pack or 0.33 of a pack, so we're going to have to get 8 packs and just have some left over. So we'll need 8 packs in total. Okay, the next thing we look at is the fact that the Jenny has a 25% discount. So we need to find out what 25% discount would do to the £18.60 for the tiles, or for the pack of tiles. And so what we're going to do is we're going to get the £18.60 and we're going to times it by 0.75. So we're just going to find 3/4 of it because she has a 25% discount, and that would be 1,395. So that's the tiles are going to cost £13.95. Now I've done this in pence and I've kind of muddled it together here, so really let's just go back because I've kind of done this in pence. So that would be 1,860 times 0.75, and so each pack will cost 1,395, and the reason we're doing this in pence is the answer needs to be given in pence. So I might as well just make that conversion now. And so it's going to be 8 lots of the 1,395 pence packs, which will cost in total 11,160 pence, or £111.60. But Jenny has £100 to spend, and we're asked how much extra does she need. So we're going to do the 11,160. Take away the 10,000 pence that she has, which will give us 1,160 pence. So she needs to find £11.60 or 1,160 pence from somewhere. So if we imagine we've got the 25 metre pipe here, and we've got the 35 metre pipe here. The question's basically asking us what can we cut all these pipes into, and they all have to be the same length that will fit with the 25 metre and the 35 metre. And essentially what this question is asking is what is the highest common factor of 25 and 35. So to find the highest common factor, what we do is we just find the factors of 25, which is 1 and 25 and 5 and 5. And the factors of 35, which will be 1 and 35 and 5 and 7. And the highest common factor is the number in both lists, the highest number in both lists, so it's 5. So what we can do is we can cut all of these pipes into 5 metre pipes. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Not to scale, and then 7 of these, so 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, and so there's 7 in total. So each of these are 5 metre long, and there's no wastage, and that's the longest we can make the pipes for there to be no wastage at all. So my answer is 5 metres. To rearrange this, I'm just going to write out the equation again. And I'm going to put my lines in. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is try and make the x positive, because we're looking to make x the subject of the formula, which means we need it to be x equals. So what I'm going to do is just add x both sides. So we've got x plus m equals 10. Then we want to get rid of anything on the left hand side that's not this x. So we want to get rid of this plus m. So we're going to do that by subtracting m both sides. So we've got x equals 10 minus m. So our answer is 10
minus m. X equals 10 minus m. So we're told that y is proportional directly to x. So what I'm going to do is just replace that proportionality sign for an equals, and I'm going to times the right hand side by k to be able to do that. Okay, we're told that x is 4 when y is 9.6, so we're going to put in 9.6 for y, I'm going to put in 4 for x to be able to find out what k is. And k is a constant, which means it will always stay the same. So once we find it, we only need to find it once, and we found it forevermore. So that's going to be 2.4. And I'm just going to rewrite this equation here, but we know what k is now. We know it's 2.4. And I'm going to find out what y is when x is 5. So y equals 2.4 times 5, which will equal 12. So we know that y is 12. So here we can just draw in 2 extra lines, and we can see that it makes a right angled triangle. And we're asked to find the length of the line segment AB. So we're asked to find what this length here is going to be. And we know what the other lengths are. We know that this is 2 and this is 3. So we're going to be using Pythagoras. And Pythagoras, we start by labelling the sides A, B and C must be the one that's opposite the right angle. And so we know Pythagoras is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. A is 2, b is 3, and 2 squared plus 3 squared is going to be 13. And then we're just going to solve that by square rooting both sides. So the square root of 13 is 3.605 blah blah blah. And it asks it to 2 decimal places, so it's going to be 3.61. When something is cubed, you times it by itself 3 times, so we're going to do the same here. So we've got 5x to the power of minus 6 times 5x to the power of minus 6 times 5x to the power of 6. We're going to put the 5's together, so 5 times 5 times 5, and the x to the power of minus 6's together. 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. Now when you times powers with the same base, which we have here because they're all x to the power of minus 6, you add the powers together. So minus 6 plus minus 6 plus minus 6, which is going to be minus 18. Something else we could have done is we could have done 5 to the power of the 3 here, 125, and then done minus 6 times the 3, which would have given us minus 18. There's a very specific way to draw an angle bisector, and you start off with a pair of compasses and put the point on B, and then draw an arc from B. And it doesn't matter what the distance is, as long as it's kind of roughly maybe halfway between A and B. It doesn't matter what the distance is. And then at the 2 points, so here and here, that our arc intersects line AB and BC, we're going to draw another arc up here. So I'm just going to show you because it's normally easier. So an arc over here, and I'm going to do an arc from the other one over here. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to join where the 2 lines join with where the 2 arcs join. And that is how you do an angle bisector. All of the arcs leave on the diagram because they are going to get you the marks. Arcs for marks. Factorising is the opposite of expanding. So instead of removing things from a bracket, we're actually putting them in a bracket. And so we're going to start off by just putting the bracket down. And we're going to think, well, what can we put on the outside? So we look at the 20x squared and the 35x. And we first of all think of the number. So we're looking for the biggest number that goes into 20 and 35. Essentially, its highest common factor. Well, that's going to be 5. And then we look at the letters. So we look at the most amount of letters we can divide out. Well, this only has an x here, so it's just going to be an x. Then what we're going to need to ask ourselves is 5x times what is 20x squared? Well, 5 times 4 is 20, and x times x is x squared. Then to get the second term in the bracket, we ask ourselves, what times 5 is 35? Well, that's going to be 7. And what times x is x? Well, we don't need an x on the end of that. 5x times 7 is 35x. And you can actually expand that, and you can use any method you want. I'll use smiles and rainbows. And so we're going to do 5x times 4x, which is 20x squared, and 5x times 7, which is 35x. So our answer will be 5x brackets 4x plus 7. So when we're asked to find the position, we're basically finding out what n is. And we're told that the sequence has a 39 in it, and we're finding the position of 39. So we're going to equal the nth term to the 39 and solve it. So we're going to put in our solving lines. And the first thing we're going to do is take away 15 from both sides, because we want n on its own. So we get 6n equals 39 take away 15, which is 24. Then we're going to divide 6 both sides. And so we get n equals 4. So 39 is the 4th term in the sequence. And you could write it out. You could put n equals 1, n equals 2, n equals 3, and just keep going till you get to 39. Or we can do the method we've just done, which is solving it. I'm just going to write the question out a bit bigger, just so we've got more room. And loads of different methods of expanding brackets. I'm going to do smiles and rainbows. So we just draw a smile rainbow, and I'll put a little line there to remind me to times it. So we do 5 times 7, which is 35, and it's 7x, so it's going to be 35x, and 5 times 4, which is 20. So our answer is 35x plus 20. So we're going to first of all convert the 11 litres into millilitres. So we're going to do 11 times 1,000, which would be 11,000. Okay, so we're going to just draw a line, like a number line, and we're going to have the 11,000 in the middle. Now, what would be the next one down if we're looking at to the nearest 10 mil? So we're going to add a 10 mil on, which will be 11,010, and we're going to take the 10 mil away. So 11,000 take away 10 mil will be 10, 990. Now when we're looking at limits, with the upper and lower part of it, we are looking at halfway points. So halfway here and halfway here. So this halfway point will be 10,995. And the next one will be 11,005, and that's the halfway points. And so that is going to be our upper and lower bound. And we just need to say that v can be anything above the 10,995 and including that, and it can be anything below 11,005, but it can't include that, because if it did, if it was 11,005, it would have rounded up to 11,010. With this question, you've just got to know what the different functions look like. So with C and D, we've got quadratic functions. One's a positive quadratic, which is a U shape. One's a negative quadratic, which is a kind of upside down U shape or an N shape. And here we don't have that, so we can get rid of those in our thoughts straight away. A is a positive cubic, which goes up, then down, then up again. And B is a negative cubic, which goes down, up, and then down again. So this one here goes up, down, up again. That's going to be a positive cubic. So our answer is A. So we're going to start off by finding the multiplier. And we start off with 100%. It's an increase of 3.4%, so we get increase 3.4%. And so that would be 103.4%. And then we need to make that a multiplier. so we're dividing it by 100. And so that would be 1.034. So anytime we times a number by 1.034, we'll increase it by 3.4%. So it says that we start off with 1,700. So what we're going to do is we're going to type in 1,700 into our calculator, then we're going to press the equals button. Now what that does is it stores the 1,700 in memory. Then every time we press the ANS button, it's going to remember what the current number is, and we're going to then times that by 1.034. So at the moment, the current number stored in memory is the 1,700, times by 1.034 will increase the 1,700 by 3.4. Press it once, and it gives us £1,757.80. Now, when we press it again, that would be after the second year. So it puts in the 1,757.80, it puts that in as this answer here, and then raises that by 3.4%. So we've got to keep pressing equals and count how many times we press equals to get to £1,743.26. And you'll find that on the fourth press of the equals button, you will get £1,943.26.
So there are three parts that we need to find the area of. We're going to start with the easiest bit first, this circle at the bottom here. Okay, so the circle area is just going to be pi times r squared, and the radius is given to us at the top, which is 9, so it's just going to be pi times 9 squared, and that will be 254.469 blah blah blah. Or we could leave it as 81 pi. Next bit is the curved bit of the cylinder. So we're going to do the cylinder next. And it's just the curved bit, and the formula for that is 2 pi r h. So 2 times pi times the radius, which is 9, times the height, which is 30, and that will give us 1,696.460 blah blah blah. And the last bit is this hemisphere here, and so let's do the hemisphere. And the formula for the area of a hemisphere, well, this full sphere is 4 times pi times r squared, but because it's a hemisphere, it's half of that. And so it'd be half times 4 times pi times the 9 squared, and that will give us 508.938. And so the final thing is to work out the total area, so total surface area, and we're just going to add up all these numbers together. So we add up the 254.469, the 1696.460 blah blah blah, and the 508.938 blah 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 blah, and we get 2,459.867 blah blah blah. Do make sure you show the examiner that you're adding these three here. I've not done that because it wastes a bit of time for a video, but make sure you write it down. It says it wants it to 2 decimal places, so that will be 2,459.87 centimeters squared. There are a few different ways you could answer this question. I'm going to do it with a tree diagram, but you didn't need to draw a tree diagram to answer this question. So we've got our first tree, which is our first bus, and the choices are male and female. And we've got our second kind of branch, I suppose, and it's still male and female. And this is our second bus. So the property of male on a first bus is 9/15. and therefore the probability of female is 1 minus 9 over 15, which would be 6 over 15. Male on the second bus is 7 over 15, and so female would be 8 over 15, because they need to add up to 1. And it's independent, so these will be the same. And the question is basically asking what is the probability that both will be female. So to have both female, we need to have gone down this line at the start and then this line again. Okay, so looking at the fractions along the way, it's 6 over 15 and 8 over 15. The word "and" in probability means times. So whenever you're finding the probability of getting to an outcome, so this outcome would be FF, because they're both female, you are multiplying the fractions that you go across. So it would be 6 over 15 times 8 over 15. So 6 times 8 is 48, and times the bottoms, 15 times 15 is 225. Now you can actually cancel that down. So what you can do is you can divide top and bottom by 4, and that will give you 16. Is it 4? No, you can divide top and bottom by 3, and that would be 16 over 75. So either 48 over 225 or 16 over 75. So this question is a simultaneous equations question. And so we're going to have to write down some equations. So it says 2 apples and 3 pears cost £3.80. So 2 apples, I'm going to call it A for the price of an apple, plus 3 pears, so 3p, cost £3.80. Now I'm going to do this as 380 just because it's easier to work with integers rather than decimals. And it says 3 apples, so 3a, plus 8 pears costs £7.80, or 780 pence. Okay, so the first thing I do is try and get these numbers the same. So 3 and 8, they both go into 24, so I need to make them both 24. And what some people do is they just label this A and this B. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to multiply everything in equation A by 8, so that this becomes 24. So it's going to become 8a. And so we're going to times the 2a by 8, which will be 16a plus 24p, and 380 times 8 is 3040. And we're going to do the same with b, but this time we're going to times it by 3, so we're going to have 3b. And we're just going through everything here and we're timesing it by 3. So 9a plus 24p, which is good, that's what we wanted. And 780 times 3 is 2340. So now we've got both of these the same coefficient. What we can do is we can eliminate going downwards. Now, if they are the same, the s in same is the s in subtract. If they were different signs, so if these weren't both positive, if one of them was negative, different, the d in different is the d in add. So here they are the same, so we are going to subtract, and we're going to subtract going downwards. So we're going to start off by doing, and I can just do a little line here to show what we're doing. So we're subtracting going downwards, and we're going to do 16a take away 9a, which will be 7a. 24p take away 24p, which is nothing, which is why we did that, is to eliminate them. And then 3040 take away 2340 will be 700. Then I can put my lines in, and all I need to do now is just divide both sides by 7, and I get a equals 100. So we know that apples cost 100, or £1. We need to work out what pears cost. So I just need to pick one of the equations. I'm just going to pick this top one here, and I'm going to write it out. But instead of a, we know that a is £1 or 100 pence. So plus 3p equals 380. So that's going to be 200 plus 3p is 380. And then again, I'm just going to draw my lines down. And we're going to subtract 200 from both sides. So it's going to be 3p equals 180. And then we're going to just divide by 3 both sides. And we've got p equals 60. So a pair costs 60. Now we can check this by using the other equation there. So 3 times 100 is 300, plus 8 lots of 60 is going to be, what's that, 480? So it's going to be 780. So we know that we've got it right. So in this question, we've got a right angle triangle, and it involves 2 lengths and an angle. So it's going to be a trigonometry question. So we're going to start by labelling the sides. So we've got the hypotenuse opposite the right angle. Opposite is opposite the marked angle, and the adjacent is between the right angle and the marked angle. Now notice the opposite doesn't have a number or a letter next to it, so we're going to cross that out. We're not interested in that. And we're next going to draw our triangles for Soccer. So it'd be So, Ca, Toa. And we cross out the opposite, so we're not looking at a sine or tan. We're going to be looking at the cos. So it would be cos the angle, or cos x, equals a over h. And the angle is 37. So cos 37 equals 7.1 over x. Now, whenever you're in this situation, and we're just going to put our solving lines in because we're going to be solving this next. If I can press the right button, there we go. And whenever you're in this situation, what you can do is swap the left-hand side, it has to be the whole of the left-hand side, with the x at the bottom. You can just swap those over. And effectively what we're doing is multiplying both sides by x and then dividing both sides by cos 37. So when we swap those over, we get x equals 7.1 over cos 37. When you type that into your calculator, just make sure you close the bracket. If when you type in cos it opens a bracket, make sure you close the bracket before you ask your calculator for the answer or press the equals button, and that would be 8.890 blah blah blah, and when you round that to 2 decimal places it will be 8.89. We're going to start by focusing on the A and B, which is 8 and 16, so in the middle is going to be 8 and 16. The next thing we're going to focus on is the fact that A is all the multiples of 4. Now 8 and 16 have both already been taken because they're in the middle. So the remaining multiples of 4 are the 4 there and the 12 there. So the next ones I'm going to focus on is the A or B. So A or B is in A, in B, or in the middle. So if we cross out the ones we've already used, so we've already used the 8 and 16 and the 4 and the 12, that leaves the 1 and the 9. We'll cross that out of our other list. And there's only 2 left in our everything list at the top. We've got the 3 and we've got the 11. So on the outside we have 3 and we have 11. When you have a number next to a letter, it's the same as putting a times there. So we're just going to write this out, but by putting times symbols in. Put the numbers together and the x's together. So here we've got 3 times 7, which is 21, and x to the power of 5 times x to the power of 4. Whenever you multiply bases with powers, you just add the powers as long as the bases are the same. So they're both x to the power of something, so we're just going to add the powers together. 5 plus 4 is 9. So we're told these triangles are similar, which means there's a scale factor between them. So we've got 2 corresponding lengths here and here. So we've got to work out what we times the 22 by to get to the 99. So we do 99 divided by 22, and that's 4.5. So we know we times this by 4.5. And so we do the same with the 35. So we times that by 4.5, because that's our scale factor. And 35 times 4.5 is 157.5. So to find the probability of A and B, which is what that sign means, we're going to work out the amount of people, or the amount in A and B, and we're going to put that over the total amount. So A and B means it's the overlap, so that's going to be 7, and the total amount is all of the numbers added together, which will be 23. So our answer is that the probability of picking A and B is 7 over 23. We're asked to go from C to A, so starting here, ending here. Now, it would be nice if we can go straight there, but we don't know the name of that road. So we've got to go down roads that we know the name of. So instead of going straight there, we're going to go down this road and then up this road. So the first road is backwards down road B, so we call that minus B. And then the next road is backwards down A, so we call that minus A. And so our answer is either minus B minus A, or more traditionally you put them in alphabetical order, so minus A minus B. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. Onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing.